Okay, dear student, today we will study another method to solve the problem related with biaxial bending or unsymmetrical bending. So this method is called radius of curvature method or also called general bending theory. Actually, we have already discussed that the flexure equation that we have derived that is only applicable if moment they are acting about principal axis or if the bending is symmetrical. So if the moments they are not acting about principal axis, then what we do, we resolve the moment into two component or the load into two component, and each of the component is resolved along principal axis, and then we determine the stress due to the mx moment separately, and stress flexure stress is due to my moment, the moment acting about y axis separately. And by using the principle of superposition, we add both stress components to determine the resultant stress at any particular point. But this principle of superposition, this method is quite convenient and easy if we are dealing with symmetrical section. Symmetrical section where the centroidal axis are the principal axis, because orientation of principal axis is readily available or known, because the centroidal axis will be the principal axis in case of symmetrical section. But when we are dealing biaxial bending or unsymmetrical bending with unsymmetrical section, so sometimes the problem become quite complicated and lengthy. Why? Because first of all we need to determine all geometrical properties with reference to centroidal axis. Then we need to determine orientation of principal axis that is different from the orientation of centroidal axis. Then what we do, we resolve all loadings and geometrical properties with reference to principal axis, and then we use the principle of superposition or flexure formula to resolve with a problem pertaining to unsymmetrical bending, so which is quite complicated. So today we are going to study another convenient method or an easy method which is referred as radius of curvature method or general bending theory. So actually this method is also based upon flexure equation. So we will derive the some equation from our flexure equation, and then we will know that how we can use this method to solve the problem related with unsymmetrical bending. And you will find this method quite convenient as compared to principle of superposition. But this method is having certain limitation, and what is the limitation is that in this method we can compute the stress component at any point by using radius of curvature method, uh, but we cannot determine the deflection. Why? Because in this general bending theory or radius curvature method, we input all properties which are either the loading properties, moments, or geometrical properties with reference to centroidal axis. So we do not need to resolve the loading or need to transfer geometrical properties from centroidal axis to principal axis. It means that we do not require to determine orientation of principal axis, and we can directly use the properties which are given with reference to centroidal axis. But this is having certain limitation. Limitation is that we cannot determine deflection by this method. We will discuss why. Because since this method require all properties with reference to centroidal axis, if these centroidal axes are not principal axis, so we cannot determine deflection along that centroidal axis. But if you are interested to determine deflection, so deflection can only be determined if we know the loadings along principal axis. So deflections cannot be determined by this method, and we will discuss that how we can determine if we want to determine deflection. So if we want to determine deflection, so again we need to determine orientation of principal axis, and then we need to resolve the load along principal axis, and then we determine deflection along each of principal axis, and then we determine the resultant deflection and orientation of neutral axis that we have already discussed in our previous problem, just like in this slide. So derivation is similar or same as of the derivation of the flexure formula. So for example, we are having any arbitrary cross section which is having one axis of symmetry. So if y-axis is the axis of symmetry, then y would be the principal axis, and then another axis which is perpendicular to y principal axis and passing through the centroid will also be the principal axis. So you may assume that it was subjected to a movement. Movement may be biaxial movement, maybe it was acting so in this particular direction. So if you want, I can show a vector over here. So it might be subjected to an inclined loading. Due to inclined loading, a movement vector might be acting along this direction. So if we resolve the load into two components, so one component is acting along y-axis and second component of the movement is acting about or along x-axis. Or you can directly say that we are having a section which is having one axis of symmetry, so it is subjected to biaxial movement. Biaxial movement means that it is subjected to movement about x-axis and at the same time simultaneously about y-axis. And the rest of the cross-section detail is same that we have already discussed earlier in derivation of Fletcher formula. So if this beam is subjected to bending, so because this is the same beam that we have discussed in our earlier lecture, so due to the any particular moment, if we are only dealing with the mx, so if the moment is acting about x-axis, beam will deflect in y direction, because movement which is acting about x-axis is the function of the load which is acting along y-axis. So if the movement is acting about x-axis, all cross-section they tend to rotate about x-axis and deflection will produce in downward direction. So we can determine the total strain produced along longitudinal axis by using this formula that we have already discussed. So I told you that if we are assuming any cross section AC, B and D, and both sections are apart by a differential distance delta z, which is very small, which are very close to each other. So you can, by using right hand rule, if you are placing the thumb of your right hand in the direction of the movement, so your finger direction is upward and the wrist direction is on the bottom. It means that tension will be on the bottom surface and compression will be at the top surface. So if we want to determine total strain at the bottom surface, so we can determine by this formula. So total strain which will be along z direction or along the length of the beam is equal to final length minus initial length divided by initial length. So final length, because distance between point C and D was delta z. So when we applied the loading, so that these cross section AB and BD, they rotated, and then after rotation they attained new position A bar and C bar and B bar and D bar respectively. And after rotation the angle subtended by two rotated section is d theta, or a differential angle d theta. So delta z, C bar and D bar, we can assume that d theta is very small, or in such a way that this curved distance may be assumed as a linear or horizontal distance, because change of the angle will be very small because we will be in the elastic range. So C bar D bar minus EF CD, we can assume that CD is equal to EF, because before the beam is subjected to bending, CD, EF and AB will be same. So C and D value is replaced with EF. And then we can easily determine this distance C prime and D prime by using arc length concept, because we know that the angle this C and D is the part of a circle. So this arc C and D is a part of circle, and the angle subtended by this arc is d theta. Ry is the radius of distance, or this is the distance from origin to this center line, which is assumed as a neutral axis, and distance from neutral axis to the fiber may be at outer side or maybe along any distance from the neutral axis is y. So we can determine this C and D distance by using the formula L is equal to R theta. So R from 0 to C prime will be equal to Ry plus Y, and d theta is given. So C prime and D prime is equal to Ry plus Y into d theta. Similarly, we can substitute the value of EF. EF distance will be equal to L, which is equal to Ry and d theta. And after simplification, total strain along z direction will be equal to y over Ry. So it means that total strain in z direction due to moment acting about x-axis is the function of y distance from the neutral axis over Ry, radius of curvature subtended by that layer or neutral axis. So from here, if we want to determine easy, so 1 over R we can replace by another parameter which is called curvature. Ry is radius, and reciprocal of radius or 1 over Ry is called curvature attained in y direction due to moment mx. So moment mx will produce the curvature in y direction. Now similarly, if we consider the moment acting about y-axis, so moment which is acting about y-axis will also produce the curvature or the strain along longitudinal direction. So you will come up with this expression. So in the same way, the strain which is produced along z-axis due to moment my is the function of the curvature produced along x direction multiplied by the distance of the fiber from neutral axis at which we want to determine total strain. So total strain will be equal to summation of equation 1 and equation 2. So total strain along z direction we can determine that will be equal to y into ky plus x into kx. So we, by using the Hooke's law, stress along longitudinal axis will be equal to modulus of elasticity into strain. So if we are substituting the total value of strain due to mx moment and due to my. Again, I am repeating, curvature in y direction is produced due to the moment acting about x-axis, and curvature about x-axis is produced due to the moment acting about y-axis. Okay, next derivation is quite simple. We have already discussed. So if we want to take the summation of moment, sorry, summation of the load in z direction, so we have considered a differential area dA, and the force which is acting on this differential area may be acting as a tensile or compressive by nature, that is called dP. So dP is the total force which is acting on this small area. So if we will sum up force acting on all areas at any particular cross section, that will be total force, and their summation must be equal to 0 because there is no any other force acting on this section. So integration of dP over the entire cross section must be equal to 0 by applying equilibrium equation. So force is equal, dP will be equal to sigma z into dA, and we are assuming that the cross section or stresses at any fiber at any point, they are uniform. or the maximum stress that can be produced is the constant in any cross section. So sigma z can be taken outside. Sorry, we can substitute the value of sigma z total stress which is acting at any point from this equation number 3. So from equation number 3, if we substitute the value of sigma z, we are having this expression by opening up the brackets. So E and ky will come outside because they are constant. So ky is the material property and ky is the parameter which is also constant at due to fixed loading or applied loading, because if mx and my are known, so they will be constant, so they will produce constant ky. So if we take these two parameter constant as outside, then we will have the factor integral of y into dA. Similarly, E into kx and integral of x into dA. So by definition, this is first moment of area about y-axis. So about x-axis actually. Because if the moment is produced about x-axis, so moment arm will be used in perpendicular direction. Similarly, this is the definition of first moment of area about x-axis. So that is used to determine centroidal location. So in this factor, summation must be equal to 0. So E into ky, E and kx value, they cannot be 0, because whenever a beam is subjected to movement, so it will undergo certain curvature. So curvature is rate of change of slope or this deflected shape of the beam. So they will only be 0 if the moment are 0. If moment are acting, so curvature cannot be equal to 0. So it means that if you want to see, so this is the y bar and this is the x bar. So it means that y bar, that is the distance from the neutral axis to any fiber, and that is the x bar because that is the first moment of area about y-axis, so which will give the centroidal location about x-axis. So it means that this equation will only be 0 if x bar and y bar are 0. That will be 0 if we are along centroidal axis. So x bar will be 0 if we are along y-axis, and y bar will be 0 if we are along x-axis. So it means that that will be only 0 if we the point is situated along centroid or along any of principal axis. So at any other point which is situated a distance x and y from their respective neutral axis, so we will definitely have some stress component. Similarly, we can take moment about y-axis equal to 0. So if we want to take the summation of moment about y-axis, so dp, if we want to take the moment of this force dp about y-axis, so moment arm will be x, dp into x, and that summation must be equal to this applied moment which is acting about y-axis. So we are having one applied moment which is acting about y-axis. So we will have negative sign. Why negative sign? Because whenever a moment will be positive, then the curvature will be negative, or you can say that. So as already discussed, so negative sign indicate that moment and stress components sign, they are opposite. So if we substitute the dp value from here, sorry, this one dp value same, sigma z into dA, so entire expression will be same. Only difference is that we are having another x value along with rest of the expressions are same. So if we will open up the bracket further, then my will be equal to minus e y into ky into x into dA. So e ky can be taken as a constant outside, y and x are variable. So we will have first expression this, and then we will have second expression e into kx into x square into dA. Why this negative sign? Because if the moment is positive, then the curvature will be negative. So I told you that, for example, I will explain here. If moment is producing the tension at the bottom surface, so that is positive moment. But due to positive moment, curvature or deflection is produced in minus y direction. So curvature will be negative if the moment is positive. If the beam is deflecting upward, then the movement will be negative because it is causing the tension at top surface. But the curvature or deflection is being produced on positive y direction, so that will be positive. So that's why we are having a negative sign here, because when the movement will be positive, then the curvature will be negative. Okay, here you will see that what is the definition this? This is the definition of product moment of inertia. So we can simplify my is equal to E. We can take E value as a constant, ky, and this parameter is product moment of inertia Ixy, plus this is the definition of moment of inertia about y-axis. So we are having equation number 5. Similarly, if we are taking summation of all moment about x-axis, so if we want to take the moment of this force dp about x-axis, so moment arm will be y, and this moment must be equal to the moment which is the applied moment about x-axis. So equation is the same. Only difference is that we will have y here. So moment about x-axis will be equal to force dp into moment arm about x-axis, which is a distance along y direction. Substitute the value of dp, which is equal to sigma z into dA. Sigma z value we have already derived, which is equal to E into y into ky plus x into kx. So when we will open up the bracket, E and ky can be taken as a constant. So we will have the y square into dA minus E kx can be taken as a constant, then xy into dA. So mx will be equal to minus eky into ix, because this is the definition of moment of inertia about x-axis, and this is the definition of product moment of inertia. So generally mx and my are given or known, and values of curvature kx and ky are to be determined. Normally, if we know the beam, applied loadings are given, so we know that what is the magnitude of the moment mx and my. So moments mostly they are given, but the curvature they are unknown. So equation number 5 and equation number 6, actually these are the equation of moment equation in term of curvature. But actually we are interested to determine the curvature about x-axis and y-axis due to my. So it means that we need to convert this equation uh, in term of curvatures in form of moment. So we will resolve these two equations simultaneously. So you will see that how we can resolve this equation 5 and 6 simultaneously. So if I want to determine the curvature ky, so I need to remove this parameter kx. In equation 5, we are having iy with kx, And here in equation 6 we are having product moment of inertia Ixy with Kx. So if we multiply equation number 6 with Iy and equation number 5 with Ixy, so these two parameters will be same, then we can subtract any one equation, maybe equation 6 from 5 or 5 from 6. We can determine an equation which is only have the curvature ky. So multiplying equation number 6 with Iy, so it will have, we will have this equation mx Iy entire equation in minus eky ix into Iy and minus ekx Ixy into Iy, this equation. So we are having this. Similarly, we will multiply equation number 5 with product moment of inertia my into product moment of inertia minus e ky into Ixy square, because we are already having one product moment of inertia plus kx into Iy into product moment of inertia. So this minus sign, when it is going inside, so it will also convert this sign as a negative. So that's why we are having a negative sign here. So if we subtract equation number 5 from equation number 6, so if we want to subtract equation number 5 from 6, so this sign will be converted into positive, this also positive, this negative. So these two parameters, they will be cancelled out. So if we can take the ky constant from these two parameters, or we bring to the other side, so we will have equation number 7 after simplifying. Curvature ky is the function of moment about x-axis, then moment of inertia about y-axis minus my over into Ixy divided by e into product moment of inertia square minus Ix into Iy. So this is the equation of curvature about y-axis in terms of moment. If the moment mx and my are given and geometrical properties of moment of inertia about sinusoidal axis are given, we can determine curvature about y-axis. Similarly, we can determine the curvature kx. How we can determine? If we can separate out or delete this term ky, so we will multiply equation number 5 with Ix. So this parameter will be ky Ix into Ixy, and equation number 6 with product moment of inertia, then these two parameters will be same, and then we can subtract any one equation from the other to determine the parameter kx. So by multiplying the equation 6 with product moment of inertia, equation 6 will be like this, and multiplying equation number 5 with Ix, so we will have this factor or this equation, and then subtracting equation number 6 from 5, so these parameter will be cancelled out, and we will have an expression or relationship of curvature in x direction due to the moments acting about y-axis and x-axis. So if we are given the moments which are acting about centroidal axis my and mx, and geometric properties second moment of inertia about centroidal axis, then we can determine curvature kx. And then you can substitute this curvature value kx and ky in this equation and stress at any point which is situated at a distance x from the x-axis as from the y-axis, and distance y from x-axis can be determined by this formula. So you can determine kx and ky separately by using this equation, or you can develop a general equation. So if you are substituting the value of kx, ky from equation number 8 and equation number 7, then you may come up with this equation number 9. The total stress at any point which is situated at a distance x from y-axis and a distance y from the x-axis can be determined by equation number 9. Okay, in this equation actually all parameters are with reference to centroidal axis, and you need to substitute the x and y value also with reference to their coordinate sign. So you don't need to be very careful about the sign convention. We will also discuss. So x and y, these are the distances of any point from centroidal axis, from the centroid, along with their centroidal quadrant sign. Okay, now how we can determine the inclination of neutral axis? So actually we are assuming this moment which is acting along this side. So this moment is having two components, one acting along y axis and one along x axis. So by using the same equation, equation 3, along neutral axis the stresses must be equal to 0. We know that. We will substitute this value sigma z equal to 0. So after substituting it to 0, so this parameter can bring this parameter to the other side. This will become negative. Y over x will be equal to minus kx over ky. So along neutral axis, if we are taking any point, so if we want to determine the angle subtended by neutral axis with reference to x-axis, so the ratio of x distance to the y distance will be constant along neutral axis that we have already discussed. So ratio of y over x distance will be equal to tangent beta. So if we are replacing the value over here, so tangent beta will be equal to minus curvature about x-axis divided by curvature about y-axis. So we can determine orientation of neutral axis, which will be equal to beta, and that is equal to minus tangent inverse kx over ky. And if you want to further simplify, so I always urge to determine kx and ky separately and then use this equation. Or otherwise, if you want to substitute the value directly from here, this equation kx value from here and ky from here, then you will come up with this formula. So the negative sign indicate angle is in clockwise direction. So beta, or the orientation of neutral axis, is measured from positive x-axis with respect to local centroidal axis. So angle beta is always from positive x-axis, and negative sign indicate that the angle is in clockwise. If theta is positive, then angle will be in counterclockwise direction. So this is the general solution and can be applied to any section, symmetrical or unsymmetrical. So equation number 7 and 8 are derived by assuming, which equation 7 and 8? So for 7 and 8 are the equation for curvatures, ky and kx. These equations for curvature. So these equations, they were derived by assuming positive bending. Positive bending means moment mx will produce the tension at the bottom fiber, and moment about y-axis is producing the tension on left side. So positive bending tension means tension at the bottom fiber. So when the tension will be produced at the bottom fiber, so in case of a cantilever beam, if load is acting upward, then tension will be at the bottom. And in case of simply supported beam, if the load is acting in gravity direction, then the tension will be at the bottom surface. So it means that equation number 7 and 8, they will be used as it, the way we have derived, like this way. And that is only possible if will only be used if we are having positive curvature or positive bending moment. So positive bending moment the loading which is causing the tension at the bottom surface. So in case of cantilever beam, if the load is acting upward, so tension will be at the bottom surface. And in case of simply supported beam, if the load is acting downward, then the tension will be at the bottom surface. So this equation ky will be ky and kx will be used as it. But for negative bending means tension on the top fiber. Top fiber, if the load in case of cantilever beam, if the load is acting in the bottom in the downward direction, it will produce the tension on top surface. Or in case of simply supported beam, if the load is acting upward direction from the bottom, then tension will be at the top. So if the tension is on the top surface, we need to multiply this curvature with -1, because equation 7 and 8 are derived for positive bending moment. If the moment is negative, then just multiply this equation, curvature equation ky and kx with -1. So when downward loading for cantilever and upward loading for simply supported beam. Okay, now we need to discuss some important case. We are having this equation for curvature ky and curvature kx. If movement about y-axis is equal to 0, it means that if we are having only the moment acting about x-axis, so we can modify this equation. My is 0, then we will have this equation. So this is mx actually. By mistake, it is written mz. So it is correct. So I will send you the corrected slides. So in this expression, if my is 0, so this parameter will be 0. So you will have this parameter. And beta will be equal to minus tangent inverse kx over ky. So we will have this equation. So if the moment acting about x-axis will be 0, then again there is a mistake. This is supposed to be my. So I will change it. So this parameter will be 0, then this will be minus my into product mode of inertia, and denominator will be same. And kx parameter, this is 0. So this mx is 0, so we will have my into ix over this. And beta will be determined by this equation. Okay. In this equation, if the product moment of inertia is 0, so if we substitute the product moment of inertia is equal to 0, then product moment of inertia is 0 only about the principal axis, because we are substituting all the parameters with respect to centroidal axis. If the product moment of inertia will be 0, then we will see that what will be the expression, then I will discuss it. So if product moment of inertia is 0, mean that we are dealing with symmetrical section. So in case of symmetrical section, this parameter is 0, ixy, and this parameter will also be 0. Then this Iy will be cancelled out with this Iy. So curvature about x-axis or in x direction is equal to minus mx over Eix. So it means that that is the same equation, simple flexure equation, that this expression is the same expression that we can take from flexure equation. So similarly, kx, if this parameter is 0 and this is 0, so we are having curvature which is acting in x direction is the function of the moment about y-axis. So it means that my over Iy is equal to curvature into E. So it means a simple bending theory will be applicable because we are dealing with the symmetrical section, and beta will be equal to minus tangent inverse into kx over ky. So beta expression will be same as we have determined for principle of superposition method. So what is the procedure? So in procedure, first of all, we will determine centroidal location, so which will be x bar and y bar. Then we will determine moment of inertias about centroidal axis, and then we will determine the moments about centroidal axis mx and my. Then we will determine curvature kx and ky by using these two expressions. If the bending is positive, so expression will be used as it. If the bending is negative, mean that movement is causing the tension at the top surface, then we will need to multiply this expression with -1. Then we will determine the total stress at any point by using this equation. So we can substitute ky and kx value from here, and stress at any point which is situated at a distance x and y from centroidal axis, uh, we need to substitute their values with their coordinate sign. So in this equation, x and y variable values, so coordinate of any point at which we want to determine the stress, their value will be substituted with respect to their coordinate sign. So I will explain when we are going to solve the problem. Then we can determine the orientation of neutral axis by using this equation. Only disadvantage is that we cannot determine resultant deflection. So resultant deflection, if you want to determine, then you need to determine orientation of neutral axis, then you need to resolve the load along principal axis, and then you need to determine deflection by the method that we have used in principle of superposition method. Okay, then a question arises here, because in case of unsymmetrical section, so bending always takes place about principal axis. Then why we are substituting the properties about centroidal axis? Okay, here you will see that this parameter, product moment of inertia minus Ix into Iy. So actually these parameters, they are indirectly converting all loadings and geometrical properties from their centroidal axis to principal axis. So indirectly, we need to substitute the properties directly with reference to centroidal axis, and these parameters, they are already taking care of the geometric properties with reference to principal axis. So you can see that these are the transformation parameters. Okay, now we shall solve the same example that we have already solved by principle of superposition method by radius of curvature method, and then we will compare this solution. Do not get confused. In radius of curvature method, we need to determine all parameters with respect to centroidal axis. We do not require the orientation of neutral axis, loading component, and moment of inertia about principal axis. So centroidal location are already given. We have already determined in our previous example. So load is 6 kilonewton, which is acting at a free end tip of a cantilever beam which is having length 3 meter. So maximum moment at fixed spot will be equal to P into L. So load is only acting along y direction. So if the load is acting along y direction, it will produce the moment about x-axis. So moment about x-axis will be directly the function of the load into cantilever length 18 kN into meter. Moment about y centroidal axis will be 0. Why 0? Because we do not have any component of the load which is acting along x direction. Obviously, if you are having inclined load, so if you are resolving into two components, then you will have one component acting along y and second component acting along x direction. But in this case, my will be 0 because we do not have any load component which is acting along x direction. Because the load which is acting in x direction will produce the moment about perpendicular axis. Moment of inertia about centroidal axis we have already determined. Moment of inertia about x-axis is 22.68 into exponent 6. Moment of inertia about y-axis is equal to 3.84 into exponent 6, and product moment of inertia is equal to minus 5.4 into exponent 6. Okay, here, first of all, we need to determine the curvatures kx and ky. So curvature in x direction is the function of the moment about y-axis. So in this parameter, what we can do, we can determine this denominator is a constant. We can determine this factor separately just for our convenience or to make this solution calculation more easy. So we can take the square of product moment of inertia. So this is supposed to be square here. So I will put this square. If we are taking the square of product moment of inertia, this is supposed to be square. So answer will be 26.42. And similarly, if we want to determine the product of Ix and Iy, if we multiply moment of inertia about x-axis with the moment of inertia about y-axis, so we will have this parameter. Exponent will be 12 because if two factors are being multiplied, so their exponent they are being added up. So here my is equal to 0. So this entire factor will be 0 minus 18 into exponent 6 moment about x-axis, which is given in kilonewton and meter. So we need to convert this into Newton and millimeter. So it will be multiplied with exponent 6. One exponent 1000 to convert Newton into kilonewton into Newton, and then 1000 will be multiplied to convert meter to millimeter. So we will have a resultant factor exponent 6. Product moment of inertia minus 5.14, and then this denominator. So for this value 26.42 minus 87.09, this minus and minus sign will be cancelled out, and then this factor is larger, so it means that curvature kx will be negative minus 1.525 over e, and the units will be Newton over millimeter cube. Similarly, you can determine curvature in y direction, which is the function of the movement about x-axis. So after substituting the values, actually this sign is coming from here. This minus sign is with this product moment of inertia. So exponent 6 from here and 6 from here, it will be cancelled with exponent 12, and resultant answer which is coming from this equation will be minus 1.41 over E. Okay, here this curvature kx and ky, these are for positive bending, but we are dealing with the cantilever case. In case of cantilever beam, if a load is acting at free end and downward, so it is causing the tension at the top surface. So if the tension is in the top surface, it means that we need to multiply this curvature with minus 1. So actually, this curvature is supposed to be positive, this is also positive, because I have written over here. For negative bending, tension at the top fiber multiplying curvature with minus 1, so kx into ky, they are becoming negative. If you multiply with minus 1, so they will become positive. So both will be positive. Anyhow, either if the both are negative, both are positive, the beta value will be same. So if you want to determine inclination of neutral axis, beta is equal to minus tangent inverse kx over ky. So answer will be minus 52.3. So minus sign indicate that angle is in clockwise direction from positive x-axis. So beta is from the positive x-axis and the angle is in clockwise direction, which is 52.3. Actually, this beta is having same orientation that we have determined in principle of superposition method, because in principle of superposition method we have determined orientation of principal axis which was in counterclockwise direction and value was 14.31. If you add this theta with beta, so this value from principal axis will be exactly equal to the same value 67 point something that we have already determined by principle of superposition method. Let me show you. Here, so this is the orientation of the neutral axis that we have determined by principle of superposition, or maybe here 67.51. So this angle actually is beta bar, which is given from x bar axis. So if you subtract 14.31 from this value, so you will have the angle from centroidal x-axis, which is the same value 54 that we have determined by this radius of curvature. Method. So angle is the same. Okay, next is we want to determine the stress at point A, F, B, C, D, and E. So we need to determine their location from the centroid with their coordinate sign. So point A, it is having y bar component 125.71, and F is also having the y as 125.71. Just see here, A and F, they are having same vertical. Similarly, point E and D, their y coordinate is 74.3 for E and D. E and D 74.3. And then B and C, they will be 74.3 minus 20, which will 54.3. This is 54.3 actually. And then X bar for A and B will be same, which will be 4.3. And similarly for point F and A, they are situated at a distance 24.3 from vertical axis F and E. And similarly C and D, they are situated at a distance 75.7, just like here. So please note that you need to place use these coordinates with their quadrant sign. For example, point A and F, they are in second quadrant. In second quadrant, vertical ordinates are positive, and abscissa value or the component along the x side, they are negative, because x value on the left side, they are negative. So A and F, they will have minus x value. Similarly, E and B, they are in the third quadrant, their x and y value all will be negative. So this is. And point C and D, they will have their x value positive and y value negative. So you need to substitute this x and y value for any point under consideration with their quadrant sign. So we want to use this equation. So in this equation, you can substitute the kx and ky value. Then you will have only equation in terms of x and y. So this equation, this is the curvature in x direction into x, curvature in y direction into y. So if we want to determine stress at point A, x is minus 4.3 and y is 125.7. XA is minus 4.3 and y is 125.7. For B, XB is minus 4.3 and YB is minus 54.3. And this parameter will be the main constant. Similarly, for point C, XC is 75.7 and Y is minus 54.3. I have corrected here. Similarly, if you substitute the X and Y value of all points which are under consideration or where we want to determine resultant stress, so you can determine this factor. So if you will compare these values are approximately or exactly same that you have already determined by principle of superposition method. Like here, sigma A 136.64, sigma B minus 68. There might be some rounding error only. So minus 136 and minus 168. So you are exactly having the same answer. And similarly, if you want to plot the stress distribution, that will be exactly the same that you have already determined by principle of superposition method. So if you want to determine the angle from here, so I can quickly correct it. So this angle will be 54. So there will be a follow-up assignment. So submission is not after 2 weeks. Maybe you can submit this assignment when you will come for midterm exam. So the date of submission is midterm exam. So I will also share the books after the lecture. And I will also share the solution of one problem in PDF form. So that is the end of the topics related with unsymmetrical bending. So if someone is having any question, he can raise the hand and ask me the question. So anyone is having question? So student, please raise the hand if you are having some question. Okay, please raise the hand if you are present. All the students who are present, please raise the hand. So Akib Ali, where is Akib Ali? Akib Ali, Hubab, Ahsan, Shayan Javed, Miss Saleha Naim.
Sir, I'm here. My hand raise option was not working. I'm here.
Okay. I Hubab Ahsan, Akib Ali, Hubab Ahsan, and who is this Rosie? एंड शयान जवेद सी आर इनके नाम नोट करो ये 4 रोल नंबर के ठीक है
ओके सर
मैं अभी पिक्चर इनकी भी कैप्चर कर लेता हूँ सो प्लीज अनरेज दी हैंड okay let me clarify again so in the examination if nothing is mentioned you can use either radius of curvature method or principle of superposition method to determine stress but it is if it is asked to determine deflection then deflection can only be determined by this method and it means that if you want to determine deflection you need to determine the orientation of principal axis first so that you need to use so any question if someone is having the question Amish Bashir you are having some question you raise the hand okay no so actually next time we will start the new topics so we still have maybe 15 minutes but I think I will be unable to start a new topic because it takes a lot of time so inshallah in our next lecture we will start uh, the shear stress in thin wall section so if you do not have any question so I will see you in on Thursday so till then Allah Hafiz